I've got this pattern, I've taken out the instruction sheet, so I've got that ready to work on. And then in there, you've also got this lovely tissue paper, the brown. So I'm going to use a little bit of that today as well. So have some fun with these materials. So first of all, I want to talk about what I've done to prepare this page. So the pattern itself is very thin. And it's thin paper, so it's not going to hold up very well to fluid media. In order to help it with that, I have pre-prepared it. So on here, I've got a layer of gesso. And I've actually used a combination of two products. I've used a Liquitex clear gesso, and I've also used some of this Art Spectrum white gesso. And that's so that I don't lose all of the detail that's already there. So I want to incorporate some of the pattern or the instructions into the page that I create. I am not trying to paint a painting today. This is all about warming up, making marks. I went around my studio and I picked up a few things that I hadn't used in a while. So things like this charcoal, I've got an ink spray here. This is the Lindy's Stamp Gang Moon Shadow Mist ink spray. And I've got, what else? I'm not sure if I'll use this, but I did pick this up. This is like a kind of like a scraper squeegee thing, but it might be a little bit too big for this. And I've got stencils too. So some of you will know that I've been using stencils again in my work lately. They were in my drawer for quite a few years, but I've dug them out again. Okay, with that said, I think we should do some painting. I'm going to start by adding some of this tissue paper onto the page. So I'm just going to tear off a few pieces, and I'm going to add this in a few different places. You can even have a look, because you might find that on the tissue paper itself there's some cool little things, you know, like that to me is quite interesting, that little number combination. So have a look for things. I mean, I'm trying to think what else you could use, like music sheets would be fantastic, old bits of wrapping paper. Have a little dig around in your home, go through your recycling bin, you might find something in there, and just, we can layer some different materials. And you've got some here that have got more like arrows and things on them. I think that will do. So I'm using Mod Podge to glue this down. I've got Mod Podge in my studio that I want to use up. So I'm just going to build the paper up, adding plenty of the Mod Podge down so it sticks. And then I'm also bringing the Mod Podge over the top as well, just to really make sure it sticks down, get any bubbles out. Although, you know, this is just for fun, so even if you have bubbles in there, I wouldn't really worry about it. You know, you can even, you know, do what I've done here and like fold paper over or scrunch it up and make it all wrinkly. There's so many different possibilities. This is a good time to experiment. So maybe we'll try that. Since I was talking about it, let's scrunch the paper up more. Let's see what happens when we put it down in a more scrunchy form. So I'm deliberately letting the paper be wrinkly. I rather like that. Okay, let's get these other bits down. Okay, so I've got some paper down. So let's pick a stencil out. I think I've got to use a bit of this chevron pattern here. So I'm picking up some acrylic paint. I've got some of this Titan Mars Pale. Give yourself a bit more. I'm going to get a little sponge. You might even want to set yourself a little timer or something like that. Encourage yourself to move quickly and not think about this too much. So just getting my sponge ready. Got some some nice paint on the sponge there, and just going to rub that in. And there we go, beautiful. In case you're wondering where this stencil came from, it's a Jim Holtz collection. I know I often get asked questions about these sorts of things, so you can track that one down. I've got quite a few of stencils from this particular brand. So I'm going to put some more down over here. So I'm just going to put this in a few different places. I might even turn it around this way. And now I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to get a little bit more paint out. So I'm going to use a bit of this Titan Mars Pale, and I'm also going to mix a little bit. This is an Amsterdam ink in burnt sienna, and I'm going to use a bit of a combination of both of these colours together on the sponge, and I'm going to just get a bit of paint down on the page. So I'm just going to use this to get a bit more colour onto this page, really loosely, just dancing the sponge across the page, seeing what happens. And I think I'm using my favourite colours here, and once again I'm painting pretty much based on what I'm wearing, which seems to happen all too often. But anyway, I'm going to run with it. I'm going to, I don't really know what colour this is, so this could make everything go crazy, but I'm going to spray a bit of this to see what it is. So this is an ink spray. It's actually quite nice, isn't it, combined with the more sort of terracotta colours. It's a bit of a green, got a bit of a blue-green to it. I'm going to now use some of this charcoal. Let's just see. Some of this is a bit wet, so we'll see, maybe try a bit where it's not so wet. So these bits here are dry. And I'm even I'm playing with some, you probably can't see that there, but it's actually a bit of a botanical shape, leaf kind of shape that I'm working through this piece. Just really loosely. Notice how I'm holding my hand, just letting this twirl through. So just bringing this through. Some of the paint's wet, it's okay. Just, it'll even etch through paint, just where the paint's wet. Okay, this is a soft pastel. Oh, look what's happening over here. It's kind of like bright little, the colour's changed. It's got little pops of blue now. Just here, you can see. So this is a soft pastel here. Very crumbly. And with the soft pastel, I'm even going to add some water. So my Dyna Weight Play brushes arrived. I mentioned these in a previous vlog. These are my favourite brushes, particularly for acrylic work, not watercolour, but mixed media acrylic work. These are actually the shorter handled ones. I have some long handled ones as well. They're like nice little happy brushes, and the reason I like them is they're firm. They're a firm brush, got a nice dense bristle on them. So anyway, what was I doing? I was going to add some water to all of this, just to see, because when you add water to charcoal or to soft pastel, it dissolves in the water and it becomes like paint. So it's kind of fun to play with what that does. This is a Neo Colour 2 water-soluble crayon, one of my favourite supplies, and you can have a bit of a play with that as well. Remember, this isn't a painting as such, so you can just go for it. That's the beauty of it, because later on you can cut it up, or you can turn it into collage scraps and put these pieces into a painting. So you could have a little section of this that you really like. So you can even have a look at your charcoal, blend some of that. I'm really liking these little pops of blue. I'm wondering if I could even add a bit more blue into this. Got a blue Neo Colour 2 crayon here. See what that looks like. See, that was a nice surprise, that blue that popped out of this magical ink spray. And now I've picked up a blue Neo Colour 2 crayon and just continuing. So the colour palette has discovered something through play, a new colour palette for me with the blue, the green and the peachy pink colours. I really like it. I'm playing dot to dot here, just joining up some of my dots. They almost look like little flowers or something. Beautiful. So I'm just going to see whether that will show up. I might need could use the gold, or you could use, well, let's go. This is all about experimentation, so let's try something with the gold pen. Normally what I would do is actually just let this fully dry before I do any line work with a paint pen. I'm just going to do something like that in white over here because it might show up a little bit better. I'm going to abandon the white pen because clearly I need to let this dry. I'm in a hurry. But you get the idea, you know, once this is dry, you'd be able to draw a beautiful botanical on there if you wanted to. You're going to laugh at this because my husband, he's helped me out here and made a little viewfinder so that I can show you how you could then look in the painting and see if you can find interesting things. So this is a very basic viewfinder, just taking a white piece of paper and cutting a hole out of it so that you can take it around your piece and just have a look at whether there's some compositions, mark making, anything in particular that you like, you know. So you might come across an area that you're really enjoying. Like I really like this one here where you've got these little bits of blue. You've got some of this chevron pattern, and then you could add like a bit of a botanical area into it. So once this was dry. So that to me could be really nice. This one here, again, this is nice too. You can have a lot of fun with an exercise like this, and once it's dry, you can rip it up, you can continue layering, you could use your paint pens, add more details to it, you could combine pieces of this into another painting. The opportunities are endless, and it's a fun way of expressing yourself, trying out different mark making supplies, finding new colour palettes, all of those wonderful things.